Hey everyone, it's Brooke and I'm here today to do a little bit of an informal chat. I've tried to do some more formal videos and I don't know if it's just because I'm really out of practice, but I've just been really annoyed with all of them, so I'm just gonna have a chat. I'm gonna start by what I'm currently reading, which I've been reading. I've been like a little reading fiend lately and I've read a lot of books in March already. But I'm currently reading, this is Samantha, I don't ever know how to pronounce that. Shrublands Fever Dream. So the book jacket is off. As I read this, I'm on page 54, so I'm about a third of the way through, because it's less than 200 pages. Tiny little book. I'll probably sit down and finish this today. I've been reading several books lately that feel like they're meant to be read in one sitting. I'll show another one in a little bit. This has been an interesting kind of read so far, and that I don't really know what's happening. I don't know really where it's going. I don't want to tell you guys too much about what I do know, because I think the story unfolding is part of the magic of how this is written. But it does very initially start out with a woman who is in the hospital, kind of a rural clinical hospital, I guess. And there is a young man sitting at her bedside named David, and she is recounting a story to him. It's like what's been happening to her. It's like her memories of what's been happening to him as he's trying to get at something, and we don't know. And so that feels really vague. There's definitely a creep factor to it, but not in like a scary way, more like in sort of what's going on. This is a little bit unsettling. I don't really know what anyone's motives are. I can kind of see how this might get a little dark, and there is some weird shit for sure. There is some things surrounding some children. Yeah, so I don't know where it's gonna go. I mean, I'm still pretty early on, but it's been fun to read today and I hope to finish it tonight. I also just started a short story collection because I keep not picking up short story collections for some reason. I mean, I've read 2 this year, so I guess that's pretty good, but I want to read more. And so I picked up This Close by Jessica Frances Kane. This is published by Grey Wolf Press, who I always really enjoy. I again just started this today. I read the first story. This seems to really focus on the boundaries between relationships, so it's very, so far at least, and I think it will continue to be kind of grounded in realism. And the first story was about this young guy. He's just graduated college. He moves to New York City, and the most important thing he's supposed to go about setting up or kind of doing in one of his first, to do things in New York City is to find a dry cleaning service for his laundry. And then the conversation kind of delves into who owns these sorts of shops and a relationship between the people we pay to do a service. So he picks what he's told. We don't ever really finitely know. This Korean dry cleaning owned business, seemingly run by these 2 women, and there's this little boy who is seemingly one of their sons. Again, we never know the full story. He never really asks that many questions about their personal lives, because I think what the story is doing is asking us, how personal do we get with these people that we pay for a service, and when are we supposed to blur the lines? Are they ever really anything more than just someone we're paying to do something for us? It gets into the idea of servants and the help, the differences between the way maybe rich people view the help and the way non-rich people view the help. And so it's a really interesting conversation, and I don't know if she's doing this on purpose the way it's written, because I haven't read enough to really fully determine yet. But the way the story's even written, you feel a little bit at a distance. So there's even a boundary between the reader and the narrator. And yeah, it was an interestingly put together story, and I think it was effective, and it got me thinking. So I do look forward to continuing on with this one. So I thought I would also talk today about what happens when we don't like a book that is super praised. Like, nary a bad word has been spoken about it, and you read it and you don't like it, and you feel so guilty, and you don't know how to talk about that. I've tried to film like a separate review, and I just have decided I'm not going to, because I just don't know how, because my relationship with the book is very complicated, and throughout the entire reading I felt up and down, up and down. Do I like this? Do I not like this? I don't like this. I do like this. And it was weird, and some of the things I don't like about it I feel like are very, very personal. And so I just wanted to know how you guys deal with that, like that book that you have a really complicated relationship with, and you can never really come down one way or the other. Like, you don't love it, you don't hate it, you don't necessarily even like it, but you understand that there's a lot of really great things about it. It's just not for you. It's just complicated, right? The book I'm talking about is The Mothers by Britt Bennett. So you guys know this has been praised, and I think that it's worthy of that praise. I think there are readers out there who will love this book. I think Britt Bennett has an amazing amount of writing ability. You guys may know, but each chapter starts with this chorus of we the mothers, who are like the older female generation, the mothers of this church, and they sort of start each chapter with this sort of chorus of age and experience and wisdom. And those parts are written beautifully, and if the whole book had been that, this probably would have been 5 stars for me. But most of the narrative is more straightforward, and I just had some trouble with the pacing. I thought the first half was really slow and concentrated on the minutia of everyday life over like a summer, and then the rest of the book goes through like 6 to 10 years, just plot point, plot point, plot point, and that didn't work for me. And I felt like in the back turn, when it's so plot pointy, like plot point to plot point to plot point, that plot started to drive the story instead of the characters, and I wanted this to be more character focused. And when that happens, when plot is driving character decisions and not character decisions driving plot, I think it falls out for me a little bit. I think character always has to be higher up than plot. I think that's something I've discovered about myself, and so this just didn't work for me. And there's more to it than that, but yeah, it didn't work for me. So if you were wondering my thoughts on this, it wasn't my favorite thing. I think I gave it 2 stars, which I still feel guilty about. Something I just finished reading this weekend is, again, one of those books that I really do recommend reading in one sitting. It's less than 200 pages. It's like 197, so it's right at 200. And that is Jamie Attenberg's new book, All Grown Up. I got this from Book of the Month Club, and I loved St. Maisie, her last book, a lot. I loved this a lot. This is about a woman who's 40, and 39, 40, she's middle-aged, beginning of middle age, and she's really kind of examining her life and talking about being a 40-year-old woman who's not married, doesn't have kids, is dealing with family shit and like work life stuff and questions, and still doesn't have it all figured out. And it's very raw and like open and honest. And sometimes it almost was uncomfortably honest and raw, to the point where I had to like really kind of sit with something that she would present. And there's some amazing writing in this. I think she tells it interesting in that each chapter feels sort of like a short story where she focuses in on one point of her life, and then there are other small things alluded to or just mentioned, and then those little things that are mentioned will get greater depth and detail in another story. So like when you put all of the chapters together, it creates a full life. And I thought that was really well done. So yeah, I think it feels a little bit experimental, but not like in a scary way. And I really did enjoy this. Jamie Attenberg, I don't know what we classify her as. I mean, lit fic, but like I feel like a lot of people would maybe put her into that weird, nebulous women's fiction category that feels a little bit demeaning and pejorative, but has like this really far-ranging scope of literature. It's a weird thing, right? This kind of chick lit, but we've called it women's fiction now, so we've grown it up a little bit to try to make it sound more serious, but still we don't really take it very seriously. And I think that Jamie Attenberg probably falls into that category for a lot of people, but I think that no matter what category you put her in, I think she is a smart lady, and she's writing smart books about smart ladies. So it's got my full vote of approval. And then finally, because this is getting long, but we're talking books, so we can do it. I have been reading 1 or 2 books a month that are just really palate cleansers, things where I just want a fast-paced story and characters to follow, and some YA, just things like that have really, I think, kept the momentum of my reading going. So I'm really appreciating them, and this month is no different. I picked up the second book in the Remnant Chronicles. This is a young adult fantasy series. Low fantasy, though. I think the fantasy elements are kept to a minimum. This is called The Heart of Betrayal by Mary Pearson, and what I'm kind of discovering about books like this that I have for so long said I don't like is they have a place, and I think I've been thinking about what stories I like and how I like stories to be told, and as much as I want to say that I really need beautiful lyrical writing and only like lit fic, it's not true. I feel like I have 2 categories of, like, you know, where you're trying to, like, do you care about writing, character, or plot the most, and put them in order. I've seen that before. I was thinking about it in terms of that, and I think my lit fic part of me does the whole writing, character, plot, where writing is really the point, right? Where the writing has to really be smart and doing something that feels new and more intelligent than I am, so I feel like I'm learning something from it, and really lyrical, beautiful, with a little bit of character thrown in, because I don't want to read something just about, you know, a wall being painted, right? Like, there needs to be some kind of character, but there doesn't need to be a whole lot of plot. Not a whole lot needs to happen. And so there's that part of me. But then there's this other part of me that I tend to give more towards, like, TV viewing and movie watching, but have told myself I don't enjoy in books, which is a lie that I've been telling myself, and I'm going to stop telling myself that now. That doesn't need writing to be at the top, and that can, in fact, have writing be at the bottom. But that's the part that character has to be at the top. Plot can never be at the top. Character needs to be the winner. Either writing or character needs to be the winner. But in the character thing, I could either have character, writing, plot, or character, plot, writing. And as long as if I really find characters to really enjoy, I can deal with the other 2 aspects being not the lit fic aspect, right? So, if the story, and I think why writing is, it's not that writing can be lesser than, I just feel like I can come at the book with different expectations. It's like I always tell people when they're like, I don't know how to read short stories, and they're typically novel readers. And I'm like, well, I think the first problem is that you're coming to a short story, like, with expectations that it's going to be a novel, and that's your first mistake, because it's not. It's never going to be that. So you have to think differently about going into a short story or going into a poem. And while that makes sense on the litfic side, it makes sense over here too on this like more plot driven side too. I can't go into like a YA fantasy thinking that it's going to be written exactly like an adult litfic novel. It's not. And so if I let that go and I think, well, what am I getting from a YA fantasy? I want it to be fast-paced. So writing wise, I think I care more about the technical aspects of pacing and plotting, and is the dialogue, does it feel natural, you know, are these characters speaking the way that someone would naturally speak? And so those aspects of the writing I care more about than it being lyrical or teaching me something new about the English language. And I think both are valuable. And of course, you can go back and forth, and both can be parts of the other, but I don't necessarily need the same kind of writing on the more plot-driven stuff as I need on the litfic side of things. And I don't know. I don't know if any of that made sense, but I've just thought I would babble about it for a little while, and that there are things to take from more story, character-driven, fun reads, even when you also super enjoy the highbrow litfic or whatever. I can go low, I can go high, guys. That's what I'm getting at, and I'm enjoying the hell out of both, and that's okay. Yeah. See you next time.